glad to have you on, and you're one of the first interviews I'm doing for this whole entire series. It's just, covering defensive players, their mindsets, and also just like how they kind of navigated college,
Cool.
how they progressed as players. Just so certainly want to pick your mind on, kind of like how you got into the sport, and then also just like how you developed throughout college. So I just like love to hear your background on like how you kind of got into lacrosse.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So I was lucky. My dad played actually at Middlebury. So my dad
Okay.
was a 1969 grad from Middlebury. So he had a background in the sport. He actually grew up a baseball player, and then ended up playing lacrosse at Middlebury, making the switch his freshman year because he had chopped off his fingers in a snowblower accident.
No
So
way.
because of that, he couldn't get his hand into a catcher's mitt, but they could fiberglass his glove up and kind of tape it to a stick. And so he started, learning lacrosse, and he fell in love with it. So
And then he
lucky
passed
to,
down to you. That's
yeah,
awesome. That's
it was
awesome.
cool. It was a cool, little entry for him. And then, yeah, I was lucky. I mean, I had a lot of other family members, cousins who had played it.
Mm,
Had a bunch of friends who were playing it growing up, and so I think I picked it up maybe fourth grade or so.
mm.
And really, it was just kind of playing a bunch of sports at that time: football, baseball, lacrosse. But ended up, probably through middle school, shifting my focus there. Still playing football, and just kind of fell in love with the sport. I just kind of liked I liked the pace, I liked the speed of the game. I mean, playing in the middle of the field makes it a whole lot more fun too, kind of getting up and down
Yeah.
and being able to kind of be a part of the action in the middle of the field. So for me, that just kind of made the sport fun. I still love baseball. Honestly, if baseball was a different season than lacrosse, I probably would have played it through high school, but
Uh,
also loved playing football too. So that was kind of my background in lacrosse, if you
mm.
will.
So did you start playing defense when you played lacrosse? Did you just start playing defense only, or did you end up like eventually
No,
going to pole?
yeah, I played a little bit of both. I don't think I started playing pole until seventh grade. And I was really lucky. I had a great seventh grade coach, this guy, Pete Salvador, who just was super lights out. He kind of was an incredible mentor for me at that age. And that was when I went full time to playing defense, mostly close defense at that time, but learned everything about, foot positioning, stick checks, everything from him at that time. And then, obviously grew from there.
So did you feel that, starting actually playing close, did you feel like that gave you a better foundation just playing on ball, in juxtaposition to kind of starting up top and then, roaming more towards the middle of the field? Did you feel like, starting with that close as a foundation, did you find that to be integral in your development?
Yeah, I kind of just fell into being an LSM, honestly. I think I played close in town league. I played close for my high school for most of my high school career. But I worked a lot on my stick skills, worked a lot on ground balls.
Mm,
Liked kind of running the ball up in transition. And so I just kind of fell into actually being an LSM. I think my club team, is pretty much slotted only at LSM. And so I kind of got recruited as an LSM, if you will.
uh,
And just, it just worked out well. I was,
well,
I was
I
willing
think
to
the
do
sport of
whatever.
lacrosse is happy for that, for sure.
Well, I wanted to do whatever to get on the field. Honestly, I just
Mm,
wanted to be out there. So for me, I think it's good as a defender to be able to play up top and down low because I think especially when you get to the college level, you're going to be playing against a variety of offenses, and you're going to find yourself in situations behind the net. Um,
mm.
and it's easy to feel like a fish out of water if you've just been used to channeling chasing guys, and all of a sudden you've got someone finalizing you at X. So you don't
Yeah.
want to end up on a highlight reel. So I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
good.
no, for sure.
I think it's good to
Um,
get a mix.
yeah, you brought up something that was really interesting. So you played a lot of sports, you said. Did you find that that helped you as you grew as a player? Because, a lot of kids now are kind of specializing at a very young age. In my personal opinion, I think like that actually, limits players' potentials, right? Like
Yeah,
if you're playing basketball during the winter and you're shuffling and guarding a guy, and then another season you're doing something else, like maybe you're playing hockey or something, all
yeah.
those things really develop you as a player. So I think it'd be interesting just to kind of hear how like your other backgrounds and other sports kind of developed you as an athlete and as an LSM.
For sure. I mean, I think you pick up something different from every sport. So my college coach, Jerry Byrne, he loved using basketball as an analogy. He would have us all kind of watching March Madness because you see how they play picks, two-man, off-ball defense. There's definitely a lot of similarities to lacrosse defense. So I think being a multi-sport athlete is really important. And also, I mean, especially at a young age, it's just important to kind of get a variety of experiences and try out a bunch of different things and keep your mind fresh. I think you definitely, not only have the benefits of playing multiple sports, but also the risk of getting burnt out if you just play one sport your whole life.
Yeah.
But for myself, I mean, like baseball, hand-eye coordination was obviously a big kind of takeaway from that, being able to play in the infield, fielding ground balls. I mean, it's not all that different than lacrosse at the end of the day, right? It's a hand-eye kind of coordination thing. And then from football, you just kind of learn to love to be physical, right? I mean, that's kind of the name of the game in football is physicality on both sides of the ball. So I think you learn how to, play hard and play through the whistle. And there's a lot of mentality and kind of, parts of the mental game that also kind of end up helping you as a lacrosse player as well.
Yeah, I think that's all important. And one of the things also with your career is that you kind of hit the ground at Notre Dame running, right? Like your freshman year, you were getting a lot of playing time. It'd just be really interesting to hear like how you kind of, your freshman year, how you were able to integrate into the defense and kind of like tips if you were kind of looking back on your career, something that you would have added as well to kind of improve your game.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would have said I didn't integrate well into the defense, honestly. It takes a long time to get your feet under you. Probably wasn't really that comfortable, honestly, in our defense until about halfway through that season and things started to feel like they were clicking. But I just I think, I was in a fortunate position where there was kind of an ability to work into a rotation with a couple of pretty experienced guys on the defense at that point at LSM. We had a very solid close defense. I mean, in retrospect, especially, Eddie Glazner, Garrett Epple, Matt Landis down low. Like it's just a super solid group of defenders. And for everything they're known about their ability to play on-ball defense or throw takeaway checks or, get it off the ground, those guys were just every bit as good as team defenders and communicators. So I think it made it a lot easier actually to kind of be slotted in front of a bunch of guys like that who did a really good job kind of communicating and commanding the defense. But yeah, I had great mentors and Henry Williams, who was a senior LSM at the time, Ryan Smith, who was a grad student LSM at the time. Ryan ended up getting hurt, so it ended up freeing up more space in the rotation, which was really unfortunate for him and, probably not an opportunity I would have had otherwise. So it was just kind of all about working hard for me in the fall and getting the reps in, trying to do as much work as I could off the field, whether that was hills or getting extra reps before and after practice. And, when the opportunity arose, just tried to take advantage of it.
Yeah, can you kind of talk about that a little bit? What was your routine like in college a little bit? Just because like a lot of guys get to college and then they realize like it's a whole nother level. The athletes are a lot faster. Like, how did you build up the strength, the speed, and then just also just understanding the X's and O's with the communication as well?
Yeah, no, I mean, I was really lucky to have a great high school coach and supporting staff that I think prepared me in a couple ways. My strength coach, Sean Miller, he was an absolute beast. I mean, I'd say he was, a college caliber strength coach. So I was really lucky to have him on my sideline since I was kind of young in high school. So I think I came in with a good understanding of how to train and how to eat proper and kind of, the basics and fundamentals there. But I was also lucky that my high school coach, Brian Vonna, he put a little bit of a fire under my ass and told me my senior year that I wasn't as athletic as most of the guys going D1 and that I was going to have to, work double time. So I think my senior year of high school, took that to heart and he meant it in a positive way and a kind of motivating way. And took that to heart and spent a ton of time in the mornings lifting, in the afternoon doing my agilities and really just doing a lot to kind of try and augment my athletic abilities because frankly that wasn't really a strength of mine. I mean, as a, shorter LSM, short and kind of stocky, wasn't like I was, blasting past people with my speed or, always the quickest guy in the field. But I think that was something that, spending a ton of time on, I was able to work on. And so I carried that into college. I mean, the Notre Dame strength team, like, is, top tier, probably in a league of their own, just in terms of the whole entire athletic department's kind of commitment to performance. So I was really fortunate to have that, but it was really just kind of like, how do you take that, use it as a base, and then continue to build on it. So for me, on top of our regularly scheduled strength and conditioning, that was running hills that we had these mulch hills behind the weight room. So with Henry Williams, he would get me out there. Spending extra time on the turf. I just trying to, as soon as class was over, get over to the field, throw around with some of the offensive guys. Play with those guys to get better stick skills, and then in the film room is probably the biggest place that you can make strides and bounds coming out of high school. Having a guy like Coach Byrne who's just such a master of the game and understands all of the aspects and a nuanced level and was really willing to kind of spend time with me. Or I say willing, but he was also probably dragging my ass to the film room as well a bunch too. But I think it was kind of all of that. I really learned to appreciate and kind of love that side of the game. Working on off-ball defense, working on footwork, things like that through Coach Byrne, because I think coming out of high school, so many guys coming into college are just used to, roll the ball out there, lock down the number one attackman or the number one midfielder and, maybe do some CTs and GBs and that's kind of your job. But, you really got to kind of build on the basics to get there.
Yeah, I think another piece to that too is like you were such a good off-ball defender and you had an ability to anticipate plays before they happen, and that you actually just like caused a lot of turnovers just by intercepting passes. Can you kind of talk a little bit about that? Because at the college level, guys have great stick protection, and also, quite frankly, with the stick technology nowadays, it's really hard to just lodge a ball through a stick check. So you got to be able to intercept and know the passing lanes. Can you just kind of talk about how you were able to anticipate that, how you got that sixth sense?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'll go back to something that Coach Byrne told me, which was just, like he knew that I kind of liked playing a fun, fast style of the game, trying to run around the field and wreak some havoc. But he kind of grounded me in that if you have good foot positioning, you have good off-ball awareness, and you're, constantly kind of sideways and in an athletic position, you're going to be putting yourself in a position to make those fun plays. So for me, it was kind of really dialing in my fundamentals. I spent a lot of time upright off ball or with my stick at my hip and, wasn't necessarily great at those things going into college, but dialing in those fundamentals and kind of, really starting to be more of an off ball defender actually gave me more opportunities to make, on ball plays, whether it was interceptions or CTs or GBs. You just find yourself in the right place at the right time when you commit to kind of trying to be excellent off ball. So that was something that was kind of like a mindset, shift for me going into college, and something I'm really grateful for that Coach Byrne pushed us to be great at.
Yeah, and then also just like in terms of your matchups, you went against some really great midfielders, Miles Jones, guys like that. Can you just talk about like your mentality going into those games? Just because it's really interesting always to just hear about a defender's mentality and how they approach it, right?
Yeah, no,
because it's also a team defense, but at the end of the day, you're covering a guy, right? So
yeah, I mean, listen, like we had a saying at Notre Dame that you had to have kind of like an egoless clarity about your role. So we tried to kind of go into matchups like that, not really making it about kind of me versus you, and making it more about kind of our unit versus a guy like that. So I mean, I was just, again, like really fortunate to play in front of a lot of great defenders over the years, and not just great defenders, but great support guys. So for us, it was always about understanding what are the opportunities that offense is looking for, what are the positions they're trying to put their guys in, and how do we counter that. So going into those weeks, I probably spent a little extra time on film, or whatever might be kind of essential in those weeks, just to kind of make sure we had it dialed in.
Mhm.
But it really was just kind of committing to kind of doing your job and playing your role on the field, and the rest kind of falls in place, right? Because no, I mean, you can lock up a guy, but at the end of the day, like a really great player like Miles Jones, or a lot of the other good players that was, fortunate to play against, they're going to get their opportunities, they're going to get their looks,
Mhm.
and it comes down to the defense behind you and around you, and being ready to go. And a lot of good goalies too, who probably saved me from being on highlight reels at some point. So
Yeah. Were there any players that you like watched a lot? I know you played with Landis as well, so you probably learned a lot from him, but were there
yeah,
any other players that, really stuck out to you and you took a lot of notes from?
yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think I probably would say that, from a mentality standpoint, learned the most from Hank Williams. I mean, he was just one of the hardest workers that I was ever fortunate to kind of be around and be teammates with. And so Henry was a great leader by example. Learned so much about team defense from Eddie Glazner. Learned a lot about kind of to your point about like trying to find yourself in the right place at the right time and wreaking havoc off ball. Really started to learn about that from Matt Landis and from Garrett Epple. I mean, if you saw, the 5 seconds before every single incredible, takeaway check that you saw from Garrett Epple for Matt Landis, I guarantee you that it started with them being in a super fundamental, great position off ball, kind of sideways, identifying situations that they can go take advantage of. So it
Mhm.
really was just kind of learning from, all the guys around me at that time.
Yeah. No, no, that's all very, very helpful. I think another piece too is just like your ability to play transition as well. It'd be interesting just like how you kind of develop that part of your game. All defensemen want to score at the end of the day as well and get a little bit of glory. So yeah, I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I was lucky that my high school coach, again, Brian Vaughn, who I mentioned, he was always encouraging me to kind of get on the offensive end of the field and try and make something happen at the right time, and with the right opportunities. I think in order to make those plays, you just have to kind of have an appreciation for when's the time to go and when's the time to hold up. And I
Yeah.
think I think I probably got yelled at enough times at between high school and college to know that there's certain opportunities where you pass it to the guys down there who do that for a living. Like you got guys like Matt Kavanaugh, Ryder Garnsey, Sergio Perkovic down on offense that they're probably going to do a better job at scoring than I am. But when you find yourself in that opportunity, to make a play, it is a lot of fun. So I think I was just fortunate to have coaches who were supportive of that, and spent a lot of time in the off season working with our attackmen, working with our midfielders, to try and identify what are the good opportunities to make that play, and then what are the opportunities where they want us to kind of pull it out and
Yeah.
maybe slow it down a little.
Yeah, no, definitely I was yelled at for my fair share as well.
Yeah, I think it's like a rite of passage for
Yeah, you got to earn it a little bit.
yeah.
Um, another thing too, it wouldn't be an interview without asking about the traditional mesh. I'm sure everybody kind of wants to know kind of how did that start? How'd you kind of rock? How'd you also maintain it as well? Did you
I
string your
wasn't
stick? Did you string it?
No, I can't string. So actually, I was really lucky. One of the coaches on the men's lacrosse team at my high school, Yoshitaka Ando, is actually our trainer. He had been stringing traditional sticks, for well over probably 25, 30 years at that point.
Uh,
And he just noticed that I was playing with a really high mesh pocket at the time, and thought that, the way I was playing kind of would jive well with a traditional pocket. So I think it was towards the end of my freshman year of high school that he set me up with some leathers, and I loved it, and I never looked back from there. So I always had Yosh, who was willing to kind of string me up a stick all through high school and then into college. Even when I was breaking heads, and he might have to string 6 or 7 in a season, he was always so incredibly
okay.
supportful. Well beyond the stringing too. I mean, Ando was such an incredible presence in the Lincoln Subway community. We actually, unfortunately lost him to a battle of cancer a few years back here. But I mean, his kind of his tradition, his mindset, his heart, live strong in the Lincoln Sudbury community. So as a guy I was really fortunate to be around.
Mm. No, I mean that's I mean that definitely weighs heavy for sure, and you know it's good to always have those connections and to have people that can certainly help you out with that. And you know, I remember seeing you always just running up the field with the traditional mesh. It looked pretty swaggy. Everybody loved it. Um, I guess kind of for my last thing too is just like in terms of your actual college career, what were kind of the most exciting moments and
Yeah, that's a good question. Wow. The playoff run my freshman year was a lot of fun. It was a great team, a lot of senior leaders that I really looked up to. Guys like Jack Neer, who had such a great presence in the locker room and ended up being, long-term teammates and pro as well. So that playoff run freshman year was a ton of fun. Winning the ACC championship my senior year, that was another great highlight. Um, I think those would probably be the two that I would, think of most fondly looking back.
Mm. Yeah, no, honestly, even just winning the Ivy League regular season was a ton of fun at Brown. Those are
Yeah,
it's the team wins, honestly, when you look back on it, that you remember more like the team success in juxtaposition to, you know, getting an All-American or anything like that.
for
Um,
sure, for sure. I mean, those are the memories that stick with you, and uh, I think it's like you said, it's just all the guys that you get to play with, all the incredible personalities, and now I'm an old guy, so the lifetime friends you got. So
and where do you kind of see yourself going forward with lacrosse? I know you just entered retirement.
yeah, so
What's the plan?
I'm hoping to stay really involved here. I live in Chicago, so hoping to stay involved in the Chicago lacrosse community. I've tried to be a part of Owls out here, Outreach with Lacrosse in School, which is an incredible program that's giving kids all over the city of Chicago an opportunity to access the game who might not have otherwise had it, but also supporting them in other parts of their life, with academics in particular. So that's been an incredible mission to be a part of. But also just getting involved with some of the high school programs and club programs around here. Been really lucky to kind of be welcomed in by a few different groups.
Mm.
And coaching is a ton of fun. So I have a lot of fun doing it. So hoping to stay involved here, involved with my local community back in Lincoln Sudbury, get back and see those guys whenever I can. But I'm now officially on the washed up side, so I'm gonna have to find ways to play.
Well, John, thank you so much for you know, interviewing and you know, taking the time to connect with me. This is going to be certainly useful for a lot of youth players, and you know, it's really helpful to, you know, pick a mind like years apart to understand more about the game. And honestly, these videos are to help grow the sport, right? I feel like a lot of offensive players have a lot of resources, and sometimes defensive guys don't have as
Yeah.
much. So certainly helpful.
No, I'm excited that you're doing this, man. It's a cool idea, and there's a lot of young players that are going to be lucky to learn from a good player and a smart guy like yourself.